Welcome everybody, this is John Wally, and today we're going to be talking about a brand new topic, Ember AI. So what's Ember AI? Well, she's a chatbot. Well, not really though. She does so much more than just chat, like a ChatGPT or a Claude. Maybe she's an assistant? Well, not in the typical sense. Like what you'll see with a lot of AIs, they have this assistant role, but they're overly helpful and they always tell you exactly what you want to hear. So I would say, well, Ember AI is an AI assistant, and not in the typical sense. What about a companion? That's kind of closer. And we'll talk about why when we get into the back end. It's almost an AI that you can relate with, that you can communicate with, that you can work with, but at the same time have conversations and brainstorm and that kind of thing. But that doesn't really capture the role either. What she really is a coworker, and she was designed to be a coworker. That's closer. And she kind of is what you need her to be. She's based on roles and has her own name and her own traits. So let me explain. If we go into the back end of Ember AI, I'm going to go over to the admin section, and you're going to see a system overview. I'm going to talk about an overview of the system first, and then we'll get into like how this works and how Ember AI is different. Number one, when we look at it, Ember AI is 100% on-prem and running on revolutionary hardware that was developed by NVIDIA called the Grace Hopper chipset. And Grace Hopper is different. It's this combination of CPU and GPU, and they have this technology called NVLink. Like will link between these modules that are CPU and GPU, and the speeds between them are phenomenal. They're kind of like having the entire bandwidth of the internet going back and forth between these modules. So they're extremely fast. So we're running here on Ember AI a single chipset that we've been talking about, and you'll kind of look at where we're at. We have 64 cores for GPU. Our RAM and VRAM is combined, and if you look at the total out there, there's 526 gigabits of VRAM that's shared with what they call unified memory. You have 4 terabits of disk space, and then there's other network stuff that's in here too. So it's a very different kind of system. This on-prem system that can give you this cloud. It can give you this cloud environment, but 100% on-prem. That means data sovereignty. It doesn't go anywhere. Your conversations stay private. Your organizational secrets stay behind firewalls or even diodes, and it completely works air-gapped. So this is different. This technology is given the ability to run AI 100% on-prem, but yet function like the bigger competitors out there. So what makes it different though? That's great. That's the technology. But why am I excited about this technology? Why switch from AI to what we've been talking about so far in Tenable OT? Well, it integrates with Tenable OT, and it helps us kind of make these decisions once it's integrated. I can go in and like, what's my biggest risk? What do I need to focus on? But it's better than that because like I said, it's kind of like a coworker. So when I sit down in the day, I can say, hey, Ember, what did I miss in the last 12 hours? And she can tell me, or she can even help me plan out my day. She can tell me what to focus on. She can look at vulnerabilities, but she can do it with style in a way that aligns with my organization. So let's take a deeper dive into this persona thing. What makes Ember Ember? So if I go to AI persona, what you're going to see is the very beginning is each organization names their AI. As a matter of fact, you could have multiple AIs within the organization. So you'll see here that we've named Ember Ember, but it could just as easily be Fred or Sam or Larry or Sarah, any name that you wanted that would align with that organization. You can also give the AI a very specific role. And what this does is it helps tune the model. Instead of being a generic model, what we do is what we call post-training on the model, where we'll go in and we'll give it a very specific role. If you watch YouTube very often, you'll notice people talking about prompting. And one of the best things you can do when you're prompting is tell the AI its role. We automatically do that. It's built into the tool. You don't have to tell the AI its role. You don't have to be an expert in prompting because a lot of the back end pushes this into some post-training. And then I can even give it personality traits. I can say that I want my AI to be direct. I want it to be conversational. I want it to be warm. I want it to have a sense of humor. And we've found that the closer the personality meets the culture of the organization, the better it is working with that AI because it feels like an extension of the team. Again, back to this coworker thing. And then we also have custom instructions. These are instructions about how do I want the AI to behave? How do I want it to communicate? Not just from a role point of view or personality trait point of view, but what are those direct kind of things that we want to do? Like, how do we want to talk? Do we want it to summarize? Do we not want it to summarize? Those kind of things. You can even say things like tone and how do you want them to talk? So you could put all of that in there. Right? So now I have this very specialized persona around my AI. And what's really cool is if I have two, I could have two that are out there. I could have one that's Larry and one that's Sarah, for example. And they could have very different roles. Like one could be assisting my SOC, like a SOC manager or SOC analyst, and the other one could be in compliance, right? So they can have very different roles and focus in on that. The last thing we'll talk about here is AI training. And this is different as well than a lot of other tools. What it means is I can take my core documents in an organization. I can take things like my policies and procedures. I can take compliance frameworks. I can take anything that kind of regulates how my organization works or what the role is for that specific AI. Let's say it's a compliance officer and I need to follow very specific standards or guidance or regulation, right? What I can do is I can upload that. And there's some post-training that happens just like the persona, where it starts integrating that into the very fabric of what the language model is learning. So this post-training actually builds in an additional layer of training so that this is always available. So now let's assume that I've uploaded all my internal policies, procedures, and I have a user that's on here saying, hey, I'm writing this new procedure X, Y, and Z. Can you review it? And AI can come back, hey, this doesn't align with such and such procedure or doesn't align with such and such policy. You need to modify it in X, Y, Z. This is a really quick overview. There's a lot more that we'll talk about, but for now, I just wanted to introduce Ember AI. We're going to be digging into this really deep. It's a tool that I'm super excited about. We're going to catch up on where we were with Tenable OT security, and then we're going to start talking about integrations and how it works and how to better prompt and how to use AI. Not just things that are tied to Ember AI, but all AI. So if you've liked this video, if you want to see more of this, put comments below, like the video. Thank you for your time and have a great day.